What if you were a photo interpreter? What's better than a high-resolution photo to work from? The answer? Two such photos taken from a slightly different location and/or at a slightly different time. The first two photos are such. The time difference is about 8 a.m. to noon, and you recognize the foundation forms for the garage. With all the rebar to be added, it will be some time until the pour is done on the foundation walls. The third photo shows the large diameter green plastic pipes being laid for rainwater control. The pipes had been sitting in the hardware storage area for many months. Gravel, rather than dirt, was used to cover the pipes so that the water could trickle down into the pipes. The most important happening today was the pour for the big gym floor. The picture doesn't show very much. Very few workers, as if the job was as automated as in the what if pumps of the future that I wrote about the other day. The pour included the riding whirling trowels, two of them. The brick and mortar job was back on the docket today. Early this morning, I received 5 photos from Bill Weirtman. He also provided a short narrative with each one. 1. Preparation for the north foundation wall of the parking structure is underway with a mesh of steel reinforcing rods being assembled, which will strengthen the concrete that will be poured later. 2. General view of ongoing construction work of the school. 3. Pallets of roofing material, I think, are being hoisted to the top of the building by the big American crane. 4. Another view of workers assembling the mesh of steel rods that will later be encased in the concrete of the north foundation wall of the parking structure. The most notable thing that happened today was use of a new yellow, new to us, boom pump with the big word "Capital" on it. It first showed up on Falcon Way. It wasn't there long, but it headed down to the bus lanes, and there it spread out its stabilizing arms and legs and went to work pumping concrete down to the retaining walls next to the car lanes. After that, it went down to the field area. Lots of double dump trucks taking away the muddy talus dirt, but the difference today is that they would first bring in a load of clean gravel. This incoming gravel or dirt would be spread around and rolled smooth. The first picture is taken by Stephanie. It shows how crowded it is working in the garage. At mid-morning, a green Ralph boom pumper drove down below us. He was on Falcon Way. We thought he's lost. See my photo and Robert Clark's. After a long wait, the concrete mixer arrived. There were then several small pours along the perimeter of the west bus lanes. Some of the pours very close to the workers' parked cars. Almost out of sight, a cat is digging down below the old so-called moat near the utilities. Some of the school construction equipment is manufactured by John Deere. They have a slogan or motto, quote, "Nothing runs like a deer," unquote. Well, out west we have something called a mule deer because of their ears. There are lots of them and they don't run as much as stot, especially when scared. They hop or stot, all of which means nothing hops like a deer. Now who would want to buy equipment that hops? Boston Dynamics excluded. Back to the school. Most of the activity that we could see occurred on the southeast corner of the phys ed building. The yellow concrete pumper today was much smaller than the boom kind. A Deere excavator dug a trench for the green pipe that we think is to be used for rainwater runoff. This is all shown in the one photo. Cougar Mountain Middle School. We like the new name, and the falcon as a mascot that lives on Falcon Way. But aside from that, there's not much happening that we can see on Falcon Way or anywhere. One of the big boom pumps was back at its Falcon Way location. It seemed to be doing the same things that occurred on Tuesday, the addition of concrete to the retaining walls along the car lanes. But we can't see what's going on. So don't quote me on this or several other events for that matter. See the first picture. A question came up about what is the brick doing where it is located on the northwest corner of the phys ed building? My guess is that it is there for the structure of the loading dock. See the second picture. A little yellow Deere excavator was still digging a trench for the rainwater green pipe to be placed inside. Note the unloading of pan-decking sheet metal to be placed onto the phys ed flooring. Third photo. And slowly but surely, work on the new traffic lights continues. See the last photo. The most significant activity, possible exceptions garage, today was the pour of most of the pan decking for the outside south walkway on the third level. It did not appear that any other level was impacted. See the photos, both normal size and the detail blow up. If you look very closely, you can see the power trowel in action on the blow up picture. The third and last picture is either a very large piece of concrete or a chunk of granite. Don Ryder suggests, quote, maybe an erratic that wants to attend Cougar Mountain Middle School, unquote. With the considerable help from the big American crane, several beams were removed from the HVAC frames on the roofs. Since the beams were just removed and left there in place, the assumption is that something will be added to each space, like large HVAC equipment, too large to go in the frame structure without removing the beams. The beams will then be put back in place and the HVAC frames covered. See the photo. The small slippage of ground in the playing field area was a surprise to some and no surprise to others. It's caused by the Cougar Mountain Creek that goes under Timber Ridge, the same one that held up construction of Timber Ridge South Ridge. Well, anyway, the first photo is of a Holt drill on Falcon Way being used to go down a couple places into the place where the water is the wettest and see if they can see what's happening. By the way, the school buildings are still rock solid, but they should be. They're not in the path of the creek, and even if they were, that much rebar and concrete would keep it in place. After lunch, a robust crane with the name Barnhart was down at the south end. Its purpose was to remove a large precast vault from a flatbed and to place it where it was to go on the opposite side of the retaining wall. The crane then moved up to the southeast corner of the phys ed building, where it still is at the present time. Today, the hardware equipment for performing the functions of heating, ventilating, and/or air conditioning arrived and was promptly unloaded and lifted up to the phys ed building roof, where the little HVAC buildings are. The big Barnhart crane had been left overnight with this job in mind. Sure enough, the beams removed yesterday were refastened today. The third photo is Sigrid's. The additional HVAC equipment for the north classrooms arrived late this afternoon and was installed around 4:30 to 5 p.m. Just when you wonder what the topic is going to be this evening, along comes a mystery. Not that the completion of the HVAC equipment location is not of interest, but anything that needs the Ghostbusters gets priority billing. The first photo was taken to show the unique method for unloading the large windows and frames that arrived today. The little three-wheeled forklift takes the place of a large unwieldy forklift, and as you can see, fastened to the back of the truck. It goes wherever the load of new windows goes. The customer doesn't need a forklift of his own. But that's not the mystery story. If you take a closer look, in the upper left corner of this first picture, you will see three workers looking at something on the ground. It's yellow and looks like hardware. The next photo shows it again, this time under the bucket of a front loader. It hasn't moved, but the movable stuff around it has. Is it a cap for an underground tank? Is it an RC model car of the future? And what's it doing here? The third photo shows the area where this is happening, but there is no unknown mystery object. A much needed slab floor is being poured in this area. The last picture is the latest location for the Holt underground water detective and analyzer. The last photo was to have shown the garage wall forms being added for a conventional pour, but instead of a picture, you can take my word for it. Please let me know what you think that yellow thing is and what happened to it. Last evening, I sent you my daily construction report about a mystery object that showed up in 2 of the photos. The answer is a jumping jack, that is, a rammer compactor. See the photo. Thanks to Colm McGlynn, the superintendent, for the mystery solution. I hope you all saw the answer to the mystery, a jumping jack compactor. There are 3 photos of today's activities. The first one shows a flatbed on its way out. It was coming from the south outdoor storage area. The payload was several long, thin, maybe 18 inches thick, chunks of concrete, maybe 10 or a dozen of them. They looked old and well used, with rebar sticking out of one. Exactly where they were dug out of the ground, I have no idea. All I know is they are not there now. The second photo shows 2 different activities. The forms for the garage walls are continuing to be built, and the brick walls for the loading dock are getting higher. Another wall, parallel to the brick loading dock walls, is being built to the south. It is along the outside of the covered place shelter. The source of their cement mortar is the funnel bucket to the right of the walls as seen in the photo. The third photo is of the largest HVAC roof structure, the one on the phys ed building. The packaging has just been removed from the individual units. Maybe a good Google search should reveal which unit is which, that is, H, V, or AC.